The term clear is used because it is common parlance in the field of computers. The analytical mind, when the reactive mind has been restimulated and exhausted by artificial means, instantly clears itself. This can be considered to make new circuits and computations available. The action does not change in any slightest degree the basic personality of the individual, but delivers to that personality a clear mind relieved of harmful emotional content and an organism which is no longer anxiously telegraphing information about false but nevertheless real pain.
This theta is not something intangible. We can feel it. Have you ever looked at a girl, or you ladies have ever looked at a young man, and suddenly realized that you felt a great deal for this person? Just sort of an interchange. I know I was very young one time and it was spring, and I swear between a girl and myself there was enough theta flowing so that it's a wonder that you couldn't hear it crackle like sheet lightning. Never felt so healthy in my life, by the way. Now, here are simple and even homely examples of this great and ponderous basic theory at work. You've sensed it, you know about it. The component parts of theta may be many, but we know three of them. We know three of them. And that's affinity, communication, and reality. You take affinity, communication, reality, put them all together, you get every manifestation of thought that you can think of. As a matter of fact, you can even derive all the mathematics there are from these three things. And that's not a wild statement. I sat down one day and tried to figure out how calculus was evolved, how logic was evolved, each time using only ARC. Affinity, communication, reality. And I found out to have a mathematics, you had to have each one of these. If you had all three of these, you had an understanding, or an evaluation, or a computation. But if you drop one of them out, you don't have a mathematics. You drop one of them out, you don't have a life either. Now, these three things are interdependent, and one could say that they are the component characteristics of theta. Little kid doesn't want to go to school one morning. He doesn't get up. Mother comes in, and mother has argued at him before and argued at him. He found out that there's nothing worse. The more he protests about getting up, the more ambitious his mother becomes about getting him on the deck, cap, shoes, pants, jacket, out. And he gets this routine every morning. And he gets pretty desperate after a while, so one morning he says, I think I'll tell her I'm sick. So he says, I'll tell her I'm sick. So I got a bellyache this morning. I just... 30 years later, this person who is now the assistant executive to the assistant executive secretary of some large corporation is carrying upon his head all the weight and nervous tension of making General Motors or Wheaties or something. He's got ulcers. Where'd he get them? Mama at that time said to him, oh, well, Rollo, you don't have to get up, poor boy. I'll get you something that will soothe your stomach. Nice sympathy. So he feels very smug about it. So about 2 weeks later, he says, very bad. By the second or third time that he's pulled this, it's getting awfully automatic. He says, stomach ache, and by golly, he has one. and give him another 2 or 3 years of talking about this stomach ache, and the first thing you know, he has forgotten. Because he didn't know the mechanism involved, he's forgotten that he ever pretended to have a stomach ache. It's real. He has really fixed himself up royally now, because in order to make these other people wrong, and in order to make himself right, he's got to have that bad stomach for keeps. Now, these service facsimiles are merely used like you deal cards. They're about that much importance. You use your experiences. As a matter of fact, a man's personality is actually the compound of all the things he has been. But much more exactly, all the things he has decided to be. Awful lot of pre-clears you're not going to take the glasses off of, or the arthritis away from, or anything else, unless you solve life continuum. And it is simply this: somebody fails, departs, or dies, and the individual then takes on the burden of this person's habits, and goals, fears, and idiosyncrasies. These are sometimes very easy to resolve, and sometimes they're very hard to resolve. Now, a life continuum, however, has other mechanisms involved in it. A person must have wished approval from the individual, must have wanted approval from this individual whose life he's continuing. You can find moments when he wanted their approval. Must have regretted their death, and must have felt defensive for the departed individual toward the rest of the family. This person, no matter how tiny this individual was when this happened, is the defender for the person who eventually dies. And he goes on defending on the basis of, you see, I can have all these bad habits, and I'm living. Therefore, this person was right. Well, what's the advantage in making a person right? You bring them back to life. If a person is wrong, they're dead. Then there's blame, there's regret. You start running just blame, regret, shame, approval, desire to contribute to, various lines like that on one of these allies, and it'll blow up for the character. The whole death will blow up. That is, say it'll blow out. Now, whatever this mechanism of past death is, I don't know. I didn't invent it. And nobody, by merely saying it doesn't exist, is going to banish the phenomenon. It's not a subject for argument. It's simply a subject for the auditor to be alert on. That's all. It may be some source for this life continuum, but believe me, life continuum is nothing very unsolid.